I personally did QuestBridge. You have like 2 weeks to submit all your supplements. I am not a math and science person. I have definitely failed tests. I mean, the lowest grade I've ever gotten was a It happens. You don't have to maintain this image of being perfect. As long as you're resilient, you can bounce back and you put in the effort to do so. My biggest advice is...
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the What's Next podcast. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, our school newspaper's editor-in-chief, Yearbook editor-in-chief, co-president of Area C, and a climate activist. Please welcome Annie Yao.
Hello. Woo! Yeah, so my name's Annie Yao. I'm a senior at Great Neck South High School. I'm going to the University of Pennsylvania.
And what are you studying there?
I'm studying the Urban Studies major as a Bachelor of Arts.
What made you want to pursue that major?
Urban Studies is a very interdisciplinary major that gives you a lot of freedoms, but also it's really on the study of how people interact with their environments, which is something that I think I personally went through a lot, and I'm very interested in seeing how that unfolds with things like children, for example, or ex-convict individuals, stuff like that.
I was doing some research, and UPenn describes CAS as like a liberal arts education. So how do you see that playing into your education?
Yeah, so actually one of the supplement questions was about how Penn's quote-unquote flexible structure would benefit you as a student. And I think I, as a person, am very inclined to more like liberal arts educations. I am not a math and science person, but I really like having that freedom. I like reading, I like writing, and most importantly, I like studying the most, in the way that I like having a hands-on, tangible feel of being able to like absorb information and then have a real output. So
how do you think that you've gotten involved with activities that relate to your major before or while applying to college, at least in our area?
That's actually difficult to say because all the opportunities I've gotten are kind of a little bit by coincidence. Rewild, most importantly, I just saw a flyer at the environmental club way before I was even president or anything of it. But I think something really important to your question about how I chose my extracurriculars to pursue my major, the fact is that I personally don't think that I chose them for the sake of my major, but rather I chose what I wanted to do at the time and what I was passionate about, and it eventually led me to deciding on this major, urban studies, as like a good accumulation of what I'm actually interested in. So the ultimate goal was never studying urban studies at UPenn. It's more of the fact that these are all things I like, this is what I'm passionate about, and here's the output of my work that ended up being this result.
I also noticed like something about
I think that's very personalized for the fact that I personally did QuestBridge, which is, for those who don't know, it's a scholarship program specifically for low-income students. And it's definitely, in my experience, a really good option. The only caveat is it has only these select partnership schools, and only like 10% of those schools offered my major. So that was really the restriction that I found myself in. But however, that's still a lot. I applied to like 8 schools, which I feel like is a little like average-ish. Yeah, so the thing about QuestBridge is like a quick rundown of how it works. The application is open, like as Common App is open the same time. However, you have to submit your QuestBridge scholarship application by September 26th. And whether you're called a finalist or non-finalist determines on if you can proceed in the process. So it's like a 2-step round process. If you do achieve to be a finalist in a scholarship, that means you're eligible to apply to schools through the program. And then once you do that, you have like 2 weeks to submit all your supplements for however many out of 15 schools that you rank. And in December, it decides if you matched with a school or not. If you matched, you're done. So that's like an ED equivalent. If you don't, you can move on to like a regular decision round. And then from there on, it's pretty similar to Common App. It's also nice because I know with QuestBridge that while you're applying to QuestBridge, you can totally also do a Common App application. to like other schools not partnered with QuestBridge. I am so grateful to have this opportunity, of course, because it's a really big part of financial freedom. I know that, people in my situation, we probably would have gotten like well enough financial aid, but it like kind of takes a burden off your shoulders. So if you qualify, I like strongly encourage you to check out QuestBridge.
I know we've been hovering around this sort
That's
of
okay.
like talking about
it.
the college apps process,
Mm.
but because a lot of times people just apply to a school that like at the end of the day, like they shouldn't even apply in the first place.
Oh.
And so like in the interest of that, is there anything that you want to say about that?
Oh, okay. So it's definitely important, one, to make sure you're going somewhere for the right reasons. This can go with like anything for life, but I think it's the fact that on the contrary of what it kind of looks like, I didn't apply to UPenn for the prestige, but rather the fact that I thought their curriculum or their resources could genuinely suit my ambitions and what I want to do. I think one of definitely the wrong reasons some people at our school do apply to schools is for the prestige and for the fact that they think they're supposed to. And that goes for a lot of like T5 schools. How many Ivy Leagues are there? And I think that can inhibit you, not because maybe you won't get in, so it's just like a waste of application money or time, but I personally think you're not doing it for the right reasons if you're just going in for the sake of, I got into Harvard, And I think when you're applying somewhere, not for yourself and what you truly want, it's like a personal betrayal. And not saying this is going to happen, but you might end up at this super amazing, like top 1 college and then be like, I'm not really happy here than I would have maybe at a smaller liberal arts school or just like even a state school or a school with like a different culture that maybe you don't like competitiveness or anything, which is something you really find at these schools that a lot of people are pressured to apply to.
For people who are grinding their grades to A's because they want to get into top schools, as someone now going to a top school, what would you say to that person who maybe needs to take a step back?
I have definitely like failed tests. That shouldn't be surprising. And I don't mean just like fail as in an 80. I mean the lowest grade I've ever gotten was a 26.
Yo, what?
Out of 100. It's true. It happens. But that's what I'm saying is you don't have to maintain this image of being perfect all the time. As long as you're resilient, you can bounce back and you put in the effort to do so.
This is one of my pet peeves, and maybe some of you, your college counselors or your parents are telling you to do this. Just apply as the major that you want to study, guys.
Oh my God.
My gosh. And I know many people do this, but like people just apply as like some major they think is like underground or like will get them into college, and they write all their essays and like none of it is real. And so please just be honest, be yourself. I promise there is somebody out there who is reading your honest application and they're like, I love this person, this is perfect for our school. And even if it's not a top 10, top 20, like again, the school chooses you. So just let it happen. And I know people very close to me who went with I'm gonna do like all this fake, like this fake major, and I'm gonna do it, and it didn't work out for them the way that they wanted. And so you're only doing yourself a disservice if you're dishonest. But yeah, I mean, I think that something that I'm really happy we got to talk about today is honesty in your application. So before we end the podcast, is there anything, whether it's advice or just a message that you have for whether it's everyone watching or maybe people who are now entering the application process? What's your message to the world, Annie Yao?
Hello, my citizens. So my biggest advice is really, I think a lot of people, they take such a moral failure on themselves if they perceive they did this one or two things that's not correct for this college application. Because like I said, I've definitely failed tests. I have not gotten straight A's or perfect scores. And it's really the fact that you have to be resilient enough to take that, accept that, and learn from it. And also in the way that you really just have to do what you enjoy. And I know everyone says that, especially like adults, they're like, do what you love. But it's so genuinely important because it's what's most sincere to yourself, and that's definitely going to shine through with your application. If you're not sincere, that's such a personal betrayal, and I'm so sorry to like your heart, because I don't know how I could live with myself. That's a little too profound, but you're like a junior. It's important to reflect.
That got deep.
So sorry.
That's Annie Yao's message to those watching, and I hope that you guys got something good out of that. And I think we touched upon a lot of really good points today. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast as our first guest, and thank you all so much for watching the first episode of the What's Next podcast. If you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comments below, and I will try to respond to them. And maybe the same for Annie.
Yes, you're so welcome. Please come talk to me.
So
I will answer anything.
If you have questions to Annie, she wants to hear your voice. Remember that, okay? And she means that. She means that, right? You're going to stand on that?
I mean it. So email me when I'm in college. My email is...
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And stay tuned for the next episode, okay?
Bye-bye.